My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 67 years old, and I live in Richmond, Virginia. For 42 years, I thought I knew my wife until she started going to the gym at 11 p.m. every single night. If you're watching from Virginia or anywhere else, drop your location in the comments. And if you've ever had that gut feeling something was off, hit that like button. You'll want to hear what happened next. I spent 35 years as an insurance adjuster. You learn to notice details in that line of work. The small things that don't add up, the patterns that shift when people are hiding something. Linda and I got married in 1982. I raised 3 kids, buried both our parents, survived layoffs, health scares, everything marriage throws at you. I thought we were solid, the kind of solid that only comes from 4 decades of knowing someone's rhythms, their moods, their routines. Then, 3 months ago, she announced she needed to start going to the gym at night. I can't sleep, she said. I need to burn off stress. 11 o'clock at night seemed strange to me, but our gym was 24 hours, and Linda had been tense lately. Menopause, retirement adjustments, the usual. I figured exercise might help. I trusted her. That first week, I barely thought about it. She'd kiss me goodnight, grab her gym bag, and leave. Come back around midnight, shower, and slip into bed. But by week 2, I started noticing things. Her gym bag never smelled like sweat. I'm not talking about a faint smell. I mean nothing. Not the sharp tang of exertion. Not that stale odor workout clothes get. Just detergent and her perfume. Her hair was never damp. She'd come home and head straight to the shower, but her hair, long and thick, showed no signs of being tied back. No gym funk, no moisture at the roots. Then there was her phone. Linda had never been secretive with her phone in 42 years. It sat on the kitchen counter, unlocked, ignored. But suddenly, she kept it in her purse, face down on the table, password protected. I'd walk into a room, and she'd stop mid-text, screen going dark. One evening, I heard her laughing at a message. A real laugh, the kind I hadn't heard from her in months. "Who's that?" I asked. "Just Diane from the book club," she said, slipping the phone into her pocket. But her smile faded too quickly. Then came the new perfume. Expensive, French name I couldn't pronounce. She wore it to the gym. Who wears perfume to work out? And the lingerie. I found the receipt in the bathroom trash. Lace, black, from a boutique downtown. "Treating yourself?" I asked when I saw her wearing it one morning. "I'm allowed to feel good about myself, Robert." Her tone had an edge I didn't recognize. When I'd ask about her workouts, what machines she used, whether she was feeling stronger, she'd give vague answers. Just the usual. Treadmill, weights. But her body hadn't changed. No muscle tone, no weight loss, no soreness. I started questioning myself. Was I being paranoid? Controlling? We'd been married 42 years. Why would she start lying now? But I couldn't shake the feeling. Something was wrong, and I was going to find out what. I wanted to believe her. But when a woman married for 42 years starts wearing perfume to the gym at 11 p.m., something's not right. Have you ever ignored your gut feeling and regretted it? Let me know in the comments. I've always trusted my instincts. In insurance work, you develop a sense for when people are telling the truth. It's not always what they say. It's what they don't say. The pauses. The details that shift between tellings. Linda's story was shifting. One night, she said she was doing cardio. The next night, weights. Then yoga classes. But the gym didn't offer yoga at 11 p.m. I checked their schedule online. I watched her more carefully. She'd sit at the kitchen table with her phone, texting. When I'd walk in, her thumbs would freeze. She'd set the phone down too casually. "Everything okay?" I'd ask. "Fine." "Why?" "No reason." But there was a reason. I saw her smile at her screen once, the kind of smile that made my chest tighten. Soft, private, the kind of smile you give someone who makes you feel young again. She hadn't smiled at me like that in years. The new lingerie wasn't for me. She wore it under her regular clothes, and when I tried to initiate intimacy, something that had become rare but not extinct, she'd claim exhaustion. "I'm tired, Robert. The workouts are draining me." But she didn't look drained. She looked energized, lighter, happier than she'd been in months. Just not with me. I started checking the details. My friend Carl works maintenance at the gym. We'd known each other since high school. played poker every month. One evening after our game, I asked him a favor. Can you check if Linda's been signing in last few weeks? He gave me a look, the kind of look that said he understood exactly what I was asking. 2 days later, he called. Robert, I checked the logs. Her car hasn't been in the lot. Not once in the past 6 weeks. My stomach dropped. I thanked him, hung up, sat in my truck in the driveway for 20 minutes. She wasn't going to the gym. For 3 months, she'd been lying to my face, kissing me goodnight, and driving somewhere else. I wanted to confront her right then, walk into the house and demand the truth, but my father's voice echoed in my head. He'd been a detective for 30 years before he retired, taught me everything about patience, about evidence, about not tipping your hand too early. Never accuse without proof, Robert, he'd told me once, because if you're wrong, you've damaged something you can't fix, and if you're right, they'll just get better at hiding it. So I didn't confront her. I decided to follow her. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed proof, not just for her, but for myself, because part of me still hoped I was wrong. Part of me still wanted to believe that the woman I'd spent 42 years with wasn't capable of this, but I was going to find out. The next night, I grabbed my old Nikon with the telephoto lens, the one I used for bird photography. I never thought I'd be using it to photograph my wife. Thursday evening, rain in the forecast. I prepared like I was heading into a stakeout. I charged my phone fully, grabbed the Nikon from the hall closet, a D3500 with a 70-300mm zoom lens I'd bought 3 years ago when I got into bird photography. It had been a retirement hobby, something peaceful. I'd spent weekends at the state park capturing cardinals and blue jays. Now I was using it to capture betrayal. I dressed in dark clothes, navy jacket, black jeans, dark cap. I moved my truck down the block earlier in the evening, parked under a broken streetlight where shadows would hide it. I didn't tell Linda anything was different. We ate dinner like normal, meatloaf and mashed potatoes. She talked about her book club meeting, about Diane's new kitchen renovation. I nodded, asked the right questions, and played the role of the trusting husband, but my hands shook when I cleared the plates. Around 10:30 I told her I was going to bed early, kissed her forehead, went upstairs and turned off the bedroom light. Then I waited by the window, watching, my heart hammered in my chest. Part of me hoped she'd stay home, that maybe tonight would be different, that I'd been wrong about everything. But at 10:50, the downstairs lights flicked off. I heard her footsteps, the jingle of car keys. I moved to the hallway, stayed in the shadows. Through the banister rails, I watched her check her reflection in the hall mirror. She adjusted her hair, touched up her lipstick. For the gym, she grabbed her gym bag from the closet, the same black duffel she'd been carrying for weeks. Then she walked to the front door, paused, and looked back toward the stairs. For a moment, I thought she sensed something, but she just smiled to herself, that private smile again, and opened the door. I heard her car start, saw the headlights sweep across the living room wall. I counted to 120, 2 full minutes, enough time for her to think she was clear. Then I grabbed my camera, slipped out the back door, and jogged down the block to my truck. The rain had started, light drizzle, enough to blur windshields and make tailing someone easier. I pulled out slowly, no headlights, until I reached the corner. Then I saw her taillights, silver Honda Accord, 2 blocks ahead. I followed. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Every red light felt like an eternity. Every turn she made, I made 3 seconds later. I kept thinking about what I'd find. Another man, obviously. But who? Someone from her book club? A coworker from her old job? I didn't know, but I was about to. The rain picked up, drumming against the roof of my truck. The wipers beat a steady rhythm. Linda's car moved through the city streets, confident, unhurried. She had no idea I was 3 cars behind. No idea her 42-year secret was about to end. She drove right past the gym, didn't even slow down. And then she turned onto a street I knew too well, my brother's street. I thought I knew what was coming, but I didn't. I followed her through downtown Richmond, past the old tobacco warehouses, past the streetlights reflecting off wet pavement. She stayed in the right lane, Steady speed, no sudden turns. She wasn't worried about being followed. My heart pounded harder with every block. Then I saw it. The gym, lit up on the left side of the road. The 24-hour sign glowing in the rain. She drove right past it. Didn't tap the brakes. Didn't signal. Just kept going straight like it didn't exist. My stomach dropped. All pretense was gone now. Whatever she was doing, wherever she was going, it had nothing to do with exercise. She turned onto Broad Street, heading west, into the suburbs. The neighborhoods got quieter, bigger houses, wider lawns, trees lining both sides of the street. I stayed 4 cars back now, letting a sedan and an SUV create distance between us. The rain came harder. My wipers struggled to keep up. Her taillights blurred red in the downpour. Then she signaled right, and my blood turned cold. I knew this turn. I'd taken it 100 times. She was heading into West Haven, the neighborhood where my brother lived. My younger brother, Daniel, 62 years old, divorced 3 years ago, lived alone in a big colonial on Maple Ridge Drive. No, not possible. But Linda's car turned onto his street. My hands went numb on the wheel. I slowed down, let her get ahead, turned onto Maple Ridge 30 seconds later. The street was empty, rain-soaked, lined with oaks and maples that made the streetlights barely visible. I saw her brake lights, saw her turn signal. She pulled into a driveway, Daniel's driveway. I drove past slowly, my heart slamming against my ribs, parked 3 houses down, under a large oak tree where the shadows were thick. I killed the engine, grabbed my camera. Through the rain-streaked windshield, I watched Linda get out of her car. No gym bag. She smoothed her hair, adjusted her jacket, walked up the driveway like she'd done it 100 times. I raised the camera, zoomed in, focused through the rain. The porch light flicked on. The front door opened, and there he was, my brother Daniel, holding a bottle of wine, smiling. Linda stepped inside. He kissed her, and the door closed behind them. Through that camera lens, I watched my brother open the door with a bottle of wine and a smile I'd never seen him give anyone, except he was giving it to my wife. I sat there in the darkness of my truck, rain hammering the roof, wipers off now, just watching through 300 millimeters of magnified clarity. Linda stood on the porch for a moment. She looked around, left, then right, checking the street, making sure no one saw her. She didn't see me 3 houses down in the shadows. Daniel stepped aside. The porch light caught his face. He was smiling, not the polite smile you give family at Thanksgiving. Something warmer, intimate. He held that wine bottle like a gift. Linda stepped inside, and then Daniel put his hand on her waist, pulled her close. She tilted her face up toward his. They kissed. Not a peck on the cheek, not a friendly greeting. A kiss. I pressed the shutter. Click, click, click. My hands were shaking, but the camera stayed steady. Autofocus locked on. I captured everything. Linda's hand on his chest, his arm around her back, the way she leaned into him like she'd done it 1,000 times. The door closed. The porch light went dark. I lowered the camera, stared at the display screen, reviewing the time-stamped, dated images, clear despite the rain. My wife of 42 years walked into my brother's house at 11:17 p.m. My brother greeted her with wine and a kiss. 47 photos total. I felt sick. Not the sharp pain of a punch to the gut. Something slower, deeper, like my insides were collapsing in on themselves. My brother, Daniel, the same Daniel I'd helped through 2 divorces, the same Daniel who called me for advice when his business was failing, the same Daniel who sat at my kitchen table every Sunday for decades, the same Daniel who was inside that house right now with my wife. I set the camera down on the passenger seat. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Rage came next, hot and sudden. I wanted to kick that door in, wanted to drag him out onto the lawn and make him answer for this. But I didn't move, because underneath the rage was something colder, disbelief. How long had this been happening? 6 weeks of gym trips? Longer? How many times had I sat across from Daniel at a family dinner while he looked me in the eye and called me brother? How many times had Linda kissed me goodbye and driven straight to him? I thought about the new lingerie, the perfume, the secret smiles at her phone, all of it for him, my younger brother, who'd stood beside me at my wedding, who'd held my firstborn son in the hospital, who'd helped me build the deck on our back porch. He'd been sleeping with my wife, and Linda, who'd promised me forever, who'd stood beside me through layoffs and health scares and the death of both our parents. She'd been lying to me every single night for God knows how long. I sat there in that truck, rain pouring down, staring at Daniel's house. The lights were on upstairs now. I knew exactly what that meant, and I wasn't going anywhere. At our 40th anniversary, my brother stood up and said, "You two give me hope." Now I know he was sleeping with my wife. Daniel is 5 years younger than me, 62. Always the charming one growing up, the one who could talk his way out of trouble, make people laugh, get second chances. I was the responsible one, the one who got good grades, took over Dad's insurance clients, married young and stayed married. Daniel drifted. I tried college, dropped out. I worked construction for a while, eventually started a landscaping business that barely stayed afloat. He got married at 25, divorced at 30, said she didn't understand him, married again at 35, divorced at 43, said she was too controlling. I helped him through both divorces, loaned him money, co-signed a loan when the bank wouldn't touch him, let him stay in our guest room for 3 months after the second divorce while he got back on his feet. Linda was kind to him, made him dinner, did his laundry, told me I was a good brother for helping. I thought she saw him like I did, family, someone who needed support. I never thought she saw him as anything else. Daniel came to every holiday, every birthday party, every family barbecue. He was Uncle Dan to our kids. He showed up when our oldest graduated college. When our daughter got married, he was always there, always welcomed, always trusted. At our 40th anniversary party 2 years ago, we had 70 people crammed into the VFW hall. Our kids gave speeches. Friends told embarrassing stories. Linda and I cut the cake together, her hand over mine on the knife, the same way we'd done it 40 years before. Daniel stood up during the toasts, raised his glass. "To my big brother Robert," he said, "and to Linda. You two have the kind of marriage the rest of us dream about. 40 years, 3 kids, still holding hands. You give me hope that maybe someday I'll get it right." Everyone clapped. Linda squeezed my hand. I looked at Daniel and nodded, feeling that swell of brotherly pride. He'd been lying to my face. Maybe he'd already started with Linda by then. Maybe he was already planning it. Or maybe it started after. Some moment of weakness. Some confession over coffee that turned into something more. I didn't know. But sitting in that truck, staring at his house, that toast felt like acid in my throat. You give me hope. Hope for what? Hope that he could steal his brother's wife? Hope that he could destroy a 42-year marriage and face no consequences? I'd trusted him with everything. My home, my family, my wife. I'd let him into every corner of my life because he was blood, because family is supposed to mean something, and he'd taken what wasn't his. The lights in his bedroom stayed on. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains, my wife and my brother. I thought about all the Sunday dinners, all the times I'd called him for help with yard work, and he'd shown up with his truck and his tools, all the times Linda had made extra food and sent him home with leftovers. We fed him, helped him, I loved him, and this was how he repaid it. I wasn't going to forget this, and I wasn't going to forgive it. I sat in that truck for 90 minutes, staring at 47 photos of my wife walking into my brother's house. I wasn't going anywhere. The rain didn't let up. It pounded the roof in waves, steady and relentless. I sat there with the camera in my lap, scrolling through the photos over and over. Linda's face in the porch light, clear, undeniable. Daniel's hand on her waist, his smile, the kiss. I didn't cry. I was too numb for that, too empty. I just sat there and thought about the 42 years we'd built together, the small apartment we'd started in, barely enough room for the two of us, Linda's face when we brought our first son home from the hospital, the way she'd held my hand during my heart attack 6 years ago, telling me I'd be fine, that she needed me. Had she meant it? Or had I been a burden by then? An old man she was tired of carrying. I thought about Daniel. teaching him to throw a football when we were kids, driving him to the hospital when he broke his arm at 14, standing beside him at both his weddings, hoping this time would work out. Was he thinking of me while he kissed my wife? Did he feel anything at all? I checked the time on my phone. 12:47 a.m. Linda was supposed to be at the gym, home by midnight. She was almost an hour late, and I knew exactly why. The lights upstairs in Daniel's house stayed on. I could still see the shadows moving, still see the glow behind the curtains. My jaw ached from clenching my teeth. I thought about going home, about pretending I'd never followed her, about confronting her in the morning with the photos spread across the kitchen table. But I didn't move. I'd spent 90 minutes sitting in the dark while my wife was upstairs in my brother's bedroom. I wasn't going to walk away now. I was going to wait. I was going to see her walk out that door, see the look on her face when she thought she'd gotten away with it. And then I was going to show her exactly how wrong she was. I scrolled through the photos one more time. Time-stamped, geotagged, undeniable evidence. Linda couldn't lie her way out of this. Daniel couldn't charm his way through it. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't me being paranoid or jealous or controlling. It was the truth, captured in high resolution. I felt something settle inside me. Not peace, nothing close to peace, but clarity. My marriage was over. My relationship with my brother was over. Everything I'd thought I knew about my life had ended the moment that door opened, and I saw Daniel's face. Now I just needed them to know it too. I set the camera on the dashboard, kept my eyes on the house, and I waited. I stepped out of that truck, walked right up to them, held up my camera, and said, "I've got 47 pictures. Want to explain? You won't believe what happened next. Make sure you're subscribed." At 1:15 a.m., Daniel's front door opened. Linda stepped out first. She was laughing, adjusting her coat. Her hair was mussed, lipstick smudged. Daniel followed behind her, put his hand on her lower back. Casual, familiar, like he'd done it 100 times. They stood on the porch for a moment. Linda said something I couldn't hear. Daniel smiled, leaned down, and kissed her forehead. That's when I opened my truck door. The sound cut through the rain. Linda's head snapped toward the street. I stepped out. I walked straight up the driveway. No hurry, no hesitation. The rain soaked through my jacket, but I didn't feel it. Linda saw me first. Her face went white, actually white, like every drop of blood drained out of her in 1 second. "Robert!" Her voice broke on my name. Daniel turned, saw me walking toward them. His mouth fell open. I didn't run, didn't shout, just walked right up to them and stopped 3 feet away. I held up the camera, let them see the display screen. The photo of them kissing in the doorway, time-stamped 11:17 p.m. "I've got 47 pictures," I said. My voice was calm, steady. "You want to tell me what kind of workout this was?" Linda's hands came up to her mouth. "Oh my God, Robert, don't." I looked at Daniel, my brother, the man I'd helped through every crisis in his adult life. He couldn't meet my eyes, just stood there, frozen, with his hand still hovering near Linda's back. "How long?" I asked. Neither of them answered. "How long?" Linda's eyes filled with tears. "Robert, please, we need to talk about this." "You're done talking," I said. "Both of you. You're done lying. You're done sneaking around. You're done pretending you're at the gym." Something shifted inside me. The shock burned away. The numbness lifted. What was left wasn't anger. It was finality. I looked at Linda, at the woman I'd spent 42 years with. "We're done," I said. Then I turned around and walked back to my truck. She said, "It's not what it looks like." I held up my camera and said, "It's exactly what it looks like. And I have proof." Linda's voice came out high and panicked. "Robert, please just let me explain." "Explain what?" I said. "Explain how you've been lying to me every night for weeks? Explain how you kissed my brother on his front porch?" She took a step toward me. I took a step back. "Don't," I said. Daniel finally found his voice. "Bob, listen, we need to talk about this. Don't call me Bob." My voice came out hard, flat. "Don't call me brother. You're nothing to me." He flinched like I'd hit him. Good. Linda was crying now, full tears streaming down her face. "It just happened, Robert. We didn't plan it. It just How long? She looked at Daniel. He looked at the ground. How long, Linda? 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. I'd had a gut feeling for the last 6 weeks of it, but it had been going on for 3 months. How many times? I asked. Silence. I held up the camera again. How many times did you come to his house? Daniel's voice was barely audible. 17. 17 times. 17 nights she'd kissed me goodbye, grabbed her gym bag, and driven to my brother's house. 17 times she'd looked me in the eye at breakfast the next morning and told me about her workout. 17 times she'd let me believe our marriage was fine while she was sleeping with my brother. 17 times you came to his house, using the gym as an excuse for the last 6 weeks, I said. My voice stayed calm, controlled. 17 times you looked me in the eye and lied. Linda's face crumpled. Robert, please, I'm so sorry. I never meant. You meant every bit of it. No, you meant to lie. You meant to sneak around. You meant to put on perfume and new lingerie and drive to my brother's house while I sat at home believing you. She couldn't speak, just stood there sobbing. I looked at Daniel. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. I helped you, I said. When Sarah left you, I let you stay in my house for 3 months. I co-signed your business loan when no bank would touch you. I invited you to every holiday, every birthday, every family dinner. I know, he said quietly. Bob, I said don't call me that. He nodded. I looked down again. You sat at my table. I continued. You ate food Linda cooked. You held my grandkids. And the whole time you were planning this. It wasn't like that, Linda said. It wasn't planned. We connected. I was feeling lost and he understood. I'm your husband, I said. For 42 years. If you were feeling lost, you talked to me, not him. I tried, she said, her voice breaking. You don't listen anymore. You don't see me. I see you now. The words hung in the rain between us. I looked at both of them, my wife, my brother, standing there on his porch like they had every right to what they'd done. We're done, I said. Linda shook her head. Robert, please. We can work through this. No, I said. We can't. I turned and started walking back to my truck. Behind me, I heard Linda crying. Heard Daniel say something I couldn't make out. I didn't look back. They tried every excuse in the book. I shot down every single one. Because the truth is simple. They chose this. Robert, wait. Linda ran after me, grabbed my arm. I stopped but didn't turn around. Please, she said. Just listen. You've been so distant lately. You stopped paying attention to me. You've been so focused on your hobbies, your routines. I turned to face her. I retired 2 years ago, I said. I'm home every single day. I will cook you breakfast. I ask about your day. I invited you to go birdwatching with me last month, and you said you weren't interested. She opened her mouth. I closed it. Don't blame me for your choices. Daniel walked down the driveway toward us. Bob, Robert, we didn't mean to hurt you. It happened. We tried to fight it. You didn't try anything, I said. You invited her over. You bought wine. You kissed her. Those aren't accidents. Those are choices. I know, but there's no but. You chose to betray me. Both of you. Linda was still crying. I was going through something. Menopause, anxiety, feeling invisible. I needed someone to make me feel alive again. I asked you every week if you wanted to talk. I said, every week, Linda. Are you okay? Do you want to go to counseling? What can I do? You know what you said every time? She didn't answer. You said you were fine. You said you just needed space. So I gave you space. And you used that space to sleep with my brother. It wasn't about you, she said quietly. It was always about me. You were my wife. He was my brother. Everything you did was about me. Daniel stepped closer. Look, what we did was wrong. I know that. But it wasn't about destroying your marriage. It was just physical. I stared at him. Just physical, I repeated. I mean, we care about each other, but it's not like we're in love or you had keys to my house, I said. You sat at my Christmas table 3 weeks ago. You helped me hang lights on the front porch. You called me for advice about your taxes. I know. You're not some stranger she met at a bar, Daniel. You're my brother. You were at my wedding. You're in every family photo for the last 60 years. That doesn't make this better. That makes it worse. He went quiet. A stranger. I could maybe understand, I said. But you? You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew exactly what it would cost me. And you did it anyway. Linda wiped her face. Robert, I know I made a terrible mistake. 17 times isn't a mistake, I said. It's a pattern. It's a choice you made over and over and over. She had no answer to that. Neither did Daniel. They just stood there in the rain, soaked and exposed, with nowhere left to hide. Good. I want you to stand there and think about what you've done, I said. Think about what you threw away, because I'm done thinking about it. I turned back toward my truck. This time, neither of them followed. I told her, You're not coming home. I'm filing Monday, and you can explain to our kids why Thanksgiving will never be the same. Linda's voice rose. What do you mean I'm not coming home? Robert, it's my house. It's my house, I said. My name's on the deed. You can get your things from Daniel's place, or you can stay with Diane, or you can get a hotel, but you're not sleeping under my roof tonight. You can't just kick me out. Watch me. Daniel stepped forward. Bob, Robert, come on. Let's all calm down and talk about this like adults. Adults don't sleep with their brothers' wives, I said. He stopped. I'm calling a locksmith first thing in the morning, I continued, looking at him. You're not welcome in my house anymore. You're not welcome at family dinners. You're not invited to Christmas or birthdays or any other event I'm at. You can't do that, Daniel said. The family will know exactly why you're not invited. I'll tell them. I'll tell every single one of them what you did. His face went pale. Think of Mom, he said quietly. What would she say? That stopped me for a second. Then I felt the anger surge back, hotter than before. Mom's dead, I said. She's been dead 3 years, and if she were alive, she'd be ashamed of you. Daniel looked like I'd punched him. Mom raised us better than this, I continued. She taught us loyalty, family, honor, and you threw all of it away. I turned back to Linda. I'm filing for divorce Monday morning, I said. I've got 47 photos, timestamps, and witnesses if I need them. You won't get to spin this. Everyone's going to know exactly what happened. Robert, please, she said, her voice breaking. We've been married 42 years. Doesn't that mean anything? Can't we at least try? Try what? Counseling? Therapy? You want me to sit in a room and talk about my feelings while you explain why you had to sleep with my brother? I made a mistake. You made a choice. 17 choices. Please, she begged. Just give me a chance to make this right. One chance. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I saw the woman I'd married at 25. The woman who'd held our babies. The woman who'd sat beside my hospital bed and held my hand. And I saw the woman who'd kissed my brother on his front porch an hour ago. You had 42 years, I said quietly. You had every chance in the world to talk to me, to tell me you were unhappy, to work on our marriage. You chose my brother instead. Robert, you can call a lawyer. You can fight me if you want. But this marriage is over. I looked at both of them one last time. And you can explain to our kids why Thanksgiving will never be the same. Why isn't their uncle invited anymore? Why did their mother destroy this family? Linda sobbed. Daniel stared at the ground. I walked to my truck, got in, and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I saw them standing in the rain, still on his porch, still together. I drove away and didn't look back. The drive home was the longest 15 minutes of my life. I'd left my house married. I came back alone. The rain kept falling. The streets were empty, just me and the taillights ahead, and the weight of everything that had just happened. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't want music. I didn't want noise. Just needed to think. Or maybe I needed not to think. The camera sat on the passenger seat. 47 photos. 47 pieces of evidence that my life had just blown apart. It felt like it weighed 100 pounds. I thought about calling our oldest son, Michael. He lived 2 hours away in Charlottesville. He'd want to know. He'd ask if I was okay. But I didn't know what I'd tell him. Your mother's been sleeping with Uncle Daniel for 3 months. Didn't seem like the kind of thing you said over the phone at 2 a.m. I thought about our daughter, Sarah. She was Linda's favorite. This would destroy her. Their whole view of their family was about to shatter because of what Linda and Daniel chose. I pulled onto our street, my street, The same street I'd lived on for 30 years. The house was dark, empty. I'd left earlier tonight thinking I had a wife, thinking I had a brother, thinking my life was solid even if something felt off. Now I know the truth. Linda's car wasn't in the driveway. Good. I'd meant what I said. She wasn't coming home tonight. Maybe not ever. I parked in the garage, sat there with the engine off, staring at the wall where Linda's car was supposed to be. Her coffee mug would still be in the sink. Her book would still be on the nightstand. Her clothes would still be in the closet. 42 years of shared life, still scattered through every room, and all of it is poisoned now. I checked my phone. 2:30 a.m. I should go inside, get some sleep, but I sat there for another 20 minutes. Finally, I grabbed the camera and went in through the side door. The house was quiet, too quiet. I didn't go upstairs, couldn't face our bedroom, not tonight. I grabbed a blanket from the hall closet, lay down on the couch, and stared at the ceiling. I didn't sleep much, but when I finally did, I dreamed of better days. Back when I thought I knew the people I loved, back before I learned the truth. I woke up on my own couch in my own house, and for the first time in 42 years, I was alone. The locks would be changed by noon. My neck was stiff, my back ached. Light was coming through the living room windows, pale gray morning light that matched exactly how I felt. 6:30 a.m. I sat up slowly, folded the blanket, and walked to the kitchen. Linda's coffee mug was still in the sink, half full from yesterday morning. Her reading glasses were on the counter beside a paperback romance novel, bookmark halfway through. The house felt wrong, too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I made coffee, strong and black, stood at the counter and drank it while staring at nothing. Then I picked up my camera from where I'd left it on the coffee table. I scrolled through the photos again. I needed to see them in daylight. I needed to confirm last night was real and not some nightmare. Linda walked up Daniel's driveway. Check. Daniel opened the door with wine. Check. The kiss. Check. All of it is real. All of it is documented. All of it is proof. I set the camera down and pulled out my phone. First call. Locksmith. Yellow Pages still worked for some things. Need my locks changed today, I told the guy who answered. All of them. Front, back, garage. Emergency situation? You could say that. I can be there by noon. Perfect. Second call. My attorney, Gerald Bradshaw. We'd used him for our wills 5 years ago. Straight shooter. No nonsense. I got his voicemail. Gerald, it's Robert Mitchell. I need to file for divorce. Monday morning if possible. Call me back. I hung up and stared at my phone. 42 years of marriage ending in a 15-second voicemail. Third call, or text, rather. I sent the same message to all 3 of my kids in a group text. Need to talk to you all today. It's important. My daughter Jessica replied within 30 seconds. What's wrong? I didn't answer yet. Couldn't explain this over text. I poured another cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Linda and I had eaten breakfast together 10,000 times. The morning felt surreal, like I was watching my own life from outside my body. By 9 a.m., my phone rang. Linda. I stared at her name on the screen. My thumb hovered over the red button. I answered. Robert. Her voice was wrecked, crying, barely coherent. Robert, please. I need to come home. I need to get my things. We need to talk. You can get your things, I said. There's nothing to talk about. Please, just listen to me for 5 minutes. I listened to you for 42 years, Linda. I'm done listening. I made a mistake. You made 17 mistakes. In a row. Over 3 months. She was sobbing now. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Robert, please. The locks are being changed at noon. You can come by tomorrow afternoon when I'm not here. I'll leave your things on the porch. You can't just... I hung up, set the phone down on the table. My hands were shaking, but not from doubt, from the sheer weight of what I was doing, dismantling a life, erasing a history, doing what needed to be done. At 11:45, the locksmith arrived. By 12:30, every lock in my house was new, and Linda didn't have a key to any of them. When I showed my kids the photos, my son said, Uncle Daniel, you've got to be kidding me. I met them at a coffee shop on Broad Street at 2 p.m. Neutral ground. Somewhere we could talk without neighbors watching. Our kids are Jessica, Michael, and Sarah. Jessica arrived first, 40 years old, sharp like her mother used to be, worried lines already creasing her forehead. Dad, what's going on? Let's wait for your brothers. Michael showed up 5 minutes later, 38, built like me. I worked construction management. Gave me a hug that lasted longer than usual. Sarah, our youngest at 35, came in last. She had Linda's eyes. That made this harder. We sat in a back corner booth. 4 coffees, nobody was drinking. I'm going to show you something, I said. It's going to be hard to see, but you need to know the truth. I set my camera on the table. I pulled up the first photo. Linda walked up Daniel's driveway. Timestamp 11:17 p.m. Jessica's hand went to her mouth. I scrolled to the next one. Daniel opened the door, wine bottle in hand. No, Sarah whispered. Next photo. The embrace. The kiss. Michael's jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. Your mother has been seeing Uncle Daniel, I said quietly, for at least 3 months. I followed her last night. These are the photos. Silence. Then Jessica started crying. Not loud, just tears streaming down her face while she stared at the camera screen. Michael pushed back from the table, stood up, paced to the window and back. Uncle Daniel? He said. His voice was shaking. Are you serious? Uncle Daniel? I'm serious. Sarah sat perfectly still. Her face had gone pale. How long have you known? She asked. I suspected for a few weeks. Confirmed it last night. And you're sure it's not just... Jessica couldn't finish the sentence. I'm sure. Michael slammed his hand on the table. Coffee sloshed. People turned to look. I'm going to kill him, he said. No, you're not. Dad, I know what he did, but you're not getting involved. This is between them and me. Sarah finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but cold. Mom always defended him, she said. Every time someone in the family criticized him, she'd make excuses. He's been through a lot. He just needs support. Now I know why. That detail hit me harder than I expected. How long has this been going on? Really? Jessica wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? I'm filing for divorce Monday morning. Are you sure? Sarah asked. I mean, 42 years, maybe counseling. I'm sure, I said. She made her choice. So did he. I'm making mine. Michael sat back down. Does she know? I confronted them both last night, in his driveway. What did she say? Every excuse in the book. None of them mattered. We sat there for a long time. 2 hours maybe. We talked about everything and nothing. They told me they supported me, whatever I needed. Michael said he was going to call Daniel, tell him exactly what he thought. Don't, I said. Why not? Because he's already dead to me. Don't waste your energy on him. Jessica reached across the table and held my hand. We love you, Dad. I nodded. Couldn't speak for a moment. I love you too, I finally said. When we left, I felt lighter somehow. Not happy, not relieved, but less alone. She stood on the porch crying, saying she loved me. I told her, love isn't a word, it's action, and yours were clear. 2 days later, I was in the kitchen making lunch when the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Linda. She was holding a suitcase. Her face was swollen from crying, hair unwashed. She looked like she hadn't slept. The doorbell rang again, then again. She pressed it 5 times in a row. I opened the door, but left the chain on. Robert, please, she said immediately. Please let me in. I need to talk to you. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is, please. I made a terrible mistake. The worst mistake of my life. But we can fix this. No, we can't. Robert, I love you. Don't say that. It's true. I love you. I've always loved you. What happened with Daniel, it was stupid. It was wrong. But it's over. I ended it. I told him I can't see him anymore. Good for you. Please. She was crying hard now. Please just let me come home. We can go to counseling. We can work through this. 42 years, Robert. Doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. Until you threw it away. I didn't throw it away. You did. 17 times. You looked me in the eye and lied 17 times. I know I did, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life, but we can get past this. Other couples do. Other couples don't involve my brother. She flinched. Let me in, she begged. Please, just to talk, just for 5 minutes. No. Robert, you said you love me, I interrupted. But you don't betray people you love. You don't lie to them 17 times. Love isn't a word, Linda. It's action. And yours were clear. I'll do anything, she said. Anything to fix this. Tell me what you need. You are doing something, I said. You're leaving. This is my house too. No, it's my house. My name on the deed. You gave up your rights when you chose him. She stood there crying, mascara running down her face, hands pressed against the door like she could open it. Please don't do this, she whispered. Please. I looked at her through the gap in the door. For a moment, just a moment, I saw the 25-year-old woman I'd married, young and beautiful and full of promises. Then I saw her kissing my brother on his front porch. Goodbye, Linda. I closed the door. She rang the bell again, knocked, called my name. I walked to the living room and closed the curtains, sat on the couch and waited. After 20 minutes, I heard her car start, then silence. I sat there for another hour, just to make sure she was really gone. My brother never apologized, never called, never tried to explain. He just disappeared. Turns out, cowards don't just betray, they run. In the days after the confrontation, my phone stayed silent. No call from Daniel, no text, no attempt to explain or apologize or beg forgiveness. Nothing, just silence. My sister Karen called me 3 days later. She'd heard rumors. What happened between you and Danny? She asked. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long time. He told me it was a misunderstanding, she finally said. He said you thought something was going on with him and Linda, but it was innocent, that nothing physical happened. He's lying, I said. I have photos. Photos? I sent them to her, and to my 2 cousins, who'd also called asking questions. Not because I wanted to humiliate Daniel, but because I wanted the truth out there. He didn't get to rewrite this. Karen called me back an hour later. I'm so sorry, Robert, she said. Her voice was shaking. I can't believe he'd do this. To you, of all people. Neither could I. The family sided with me, unanimously. Daniel stopped showing up to gatherings, stopped answering calls, became a ghost. Good. My nephew, Karen's son, called me about a month later. Uncle Robert thought you should know. Uncle Danny sold his house. He's moving. Where? Somewhere near Roanoke, I heard. 2 hours away. I felt nothing when I heard that. No satisfaction, no sadness, no relief, just nothing. Daniel had erased himself, removed himself from the family, from the community, from my life. He'd done my work for me. I thought about the brother I'd grown up with, the kid who'd followed me everywhere, the teenager I'd taught to drive, the man I'd stood beside at both his weddings. That person was gone. Maybe he'd never really existed. Maybe I'd just been seeing what I wanted to see all those years. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. DNA doesn't guarantee character. Daniel proved that. And when I thought about him now, which wasn't often, I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt nothing. He was a stranger who happened to share my last name. Nothing more. And honestly, that was exactly what he deserved. My attorney asked if I wanted to file on adultery grounds. I said, I have 47 photos, yes. Monday morning at 9 a.m. I walked into Gerald Bradshaw's office. Same office I'd been coming to for 20 years. Wills, business contracts, property transfers. Never thought I'd be there for a divorce. Gerald was 63, gray hair, sharp eyes, never wasted words. He'd handled my father's estate and knew me well enough to read my face. This isn't a consultation about updating your will, is it? He said when I sat down. No. I set my camera on his desk, pulled up the photos. He looked through them slowly. His expression didn't change. He'd seen worse in his career, I'm sure. But when he looked up, there was sympathy in his eyes. Your brother, he said quietly. My brother. How long? 3 months that I know of. 17 visits. He wrote notes on a legal pad. Virginia is a fault divorce state. Adultery qualifies. With this kind of evidence, you have strong grounds. What does that mean? Means it affects asset division, potentially alimony. A judge will take the infidelity into account when determining what's fair. I shook my head. I don't want to punish her financially. I just want it done. Fast. Gerald set down his pen. Robert, I understand the impulse, But we're talking about 42 years of marriage, shared assets, retirement accounts, the house. If you don't protect yourself, her attorney will. Let them try. They will try. And they'll use every angle. You need to think strategically here. I'm thinking clearly, I said. I want the house. My pension stays mine. We can split the joint savings. I don't care about the rest. Gerald leaned back in his chair. This could take months, maybe longer. She'll hire an attorney. They'll want to negotiate. They'll claim emotional distress, financial dependence, all of it. Then let's start now. He nodded. We'll file this afternoon. Adultery grounds. Division of assets to be determined. No reconciliation sought. I'll need copies of these photos, dates, and any other evidence you have. I have her gym membership records showing she wasn't there. I have phone logs. I have the names of witnesses if needed. You've been thorough. I was an insurance adjuster for 35 years. I know how to document. Gerald almost smiled. That you do. We spent 2 hours going through paperwork, tax returns, bank statements, property deeds, the business of untangling a 42-year marriage. By 4 p.m., the divorce petition was filed with the county clerk. Tuesday evening, Linda was served the papers. My phone started ringing at 6:47 p.m. Linda. I declined the call. She called again, declined, and again, 17 times that night. I counted them. 17 calls, just like 17 visits to Daniel's house. I didn't answer once. Each time the phone buzzed, I felt a small measure of satisfaction. Not cruelty, just clarity. She'd had 17 chances to tell me the truth, 17 opportunities to stop, 17 moments where she could have chosen our marriage. She'd chosen Daniel instead. Now, she could live with that choice. The phone finally stopped ringing around midnight. I slept better that night than I had in weeks, not because I was happy, but because I'd taken action. The wheels were in motion, and there was no going back. Packing up 42 years of marriage into cardboard boxes is strange work. Every photo album, every shared memory, now evidence of what she threw away. 2 weeks after filing, I began sorting through Linda's belongings. Her attorney had called Gerald, a woman named Patricia Vance, reputation as a shark, immediately filed a counter-petition demanding spousal support and half of everything. Gerald had responded with the photos and the adultery grounds. Patricia then pushed for mediation. Absolutely not, I told Gerald. Robert, mediation could. No, I'm not sitting in a room with her. We communicate through attorneys, or not at all. He didn't argue. Meanwhile, I had to pack Linda's things. I started with the easy stuff. Clothes from her closet, shoes, toiletries from the bathroom, her jewelry box. I packed them methodically. I folded everything, labeled boxes clearly. This wasn't about cruelty. It was about necessity. But then I got to the hard stuff. Photo albums. 42 years worth lined the shelves in our den. Black albums, white albums, the older ones with the plastic covers and magnetic pages. I pulled them down one by one. Our wedding. Me in a rented tux that was too big. Linda in white lace, 25 years old, smiling like nothing bad would ever happen. Our honeymoon in Myrtle Beach. Both of us were sunburned and happy. Our first house. Tiny 2-bedroom with a leaky roof. We thought it was a palace. The kids as babies, as toddlers. First day of school. Family vacations. Disney World. The Grand Canyon. That beach house we rented in the Outer Banks every summer for 10 years. Graduations, weddings, grandkids. Daniel was in so many of them. Holiday dinners, birthday parties. Standing beside me at Jessica's wedding. Holding our grandson at the hospital. Always there. Always family. Always lying. I packed the albums into boxes. Every single one. Linda sent emails asking about specific items. Can I have Mom's china cabinet? And the quilt from our bedroom? And the coffee maker? Every email ended the same way. Can we please talk? I responded only to the logistics. China cabinet will be in the garage Thursday. You can pick it up between 2-4 p.m. when I'm not home. The quilt is packed in a box marked bedroom. Same pickup time. Coffee maker is yours. Thursday, 2 to 4 p.m. No explanations, no conversation, just facts. She tried calling again. I didn't answer. She showed up once when I wasn't home. My neighbor Tom told me her car was there for 3 hours. She left empty-handed. Good. The house felt enormous without her things. Our bedroom, my bedroom now, was half empty. The closet had gaps where her clothes used to hang. The bathroom counter had space where her makeup used to crowd every inch. The silence was loud. Some nights I'd walk through the house and feel the weight of it, the emptiness, the echo of my footsteps on hardwood floors. But here's the thing. It was an honest emptiness, not the fake fullness of a marriage built on lies, not the pretend happiness of two people going through motions while one of them was sneaking out to betray the other. This was real. This was true. The house was empty because my wife had chosen my brother. But at least I wasn't lying to myself anymore. And that was worth something. That was worth everything. My neighbor showed up with bourbon and said, "My wife cheated 20 years ago. You'll survive this." I did. That conversation saved me. I didn't expect the support I got. 3 days after Linda moved out, my old colleagues from the insurance office took me to dinner. 5 of us, all retired now, are meeting at the same steakhouse we used to go to for office celebrations. They knew what happened. Small city. Word travels. Nobody asked for details. They just showed up. We talked about everything except my divorce. Baseball. Politics. Whose grandkids were doing what. Normal conversation. It felt like oxygen. My neighbor Tom knocked on my door one evening around 8 p.m. He lived 3 houses down. A quiet guy, kept to himself mostly. He was holding a bottle of bourbon. "Got a minute?" he asked. We sat on my back porch. He poured 2 glasses. "My wife cheated on me 20 years ago," he said. No preamble, just facts. Coworker. Went on for 6 months before I found out. I didn't know what to say. "I'm telling you because I wish someone had told me, you'll survive this. It doesn't feel like it right now, but you will." "Did you divorce?" "No. We stayed together. I went to counseling. I worked through it." He took a drink. "But I'll tell you something. It was never the same. Trust doesn't come back. Not really. Sometimes I think I should have left." We sat there for an hour. Didn't solve anything, but it helped. My church friends invited me to their weekly poker game. 7 guys, ages 60 to 75, playing $5 hands in Mike Patterson's basement. I hadn't been in 2 years. Too busy with whatever I thought I was busy with. They welcomed me back like I'd never left. My daughter Sarah started coming over every Sunday. She'd bring groceries and cook dinner. We'd eat together, watch whatever game was on. She didn't ask if I was okay. She just showed up. That mattered more than questions. Even the locksmith who'd changed my locks called me 2 weeks later. "Mr. Mitchell? Just checking in, making sure everything's working all right with the new locks." "They're fine." Good. A pause. "And you? You doing all right?" I almost said fine again by reflex, but I didn't. "Getting there," I said. "That's enough," he said. "That's enough." I spent 42 years thinking my marriage defined me, thinking that Robert and Linda was who I was. But these people, my colleagues, my neighbor, my church friends, my daughter, even a locksmith I'd met once, they saw me. Just Robert, not Linda's husband, not the guy who got cheated on, just me. And they showed up anyway. I wasn't just the betrayed man. I was their friend, their father, their neighbor, their poker buddy. That identity, the one I'd built over 67 years, was still there, still solid, still mine, and nobody could take that away. 3 months later, I wasn't healed, but I was building things again, with my hands, with my life. That's something. The divorce was progressing, slowly. Gerald said these things always took time. Linda had moved in with her sister in Fredericksburg. I heard that through Sarah. Daniel had relocated somewhere near Roanoke, 2 hours away, far enough to disappear. I kept the house. My pension stayed mine. We were splitting the joint savings account down the middle. Fair enough, I'd started woodworking again, something I used to do in my 40s but had abandoned somewhere along the way. I built a bookshelf first. Simple design. Oak. Took me 3 weekends. Then a birdhouse. Then another. Then a bench for my back porch. My hands stayed busy. That helped. I wasn't healed. I knew that. Some mornings I still woke up and reached for Linda's side of the bed before remembering. Some nights I still heard her laugh in my memory and felt the anger surge back. But I am different now. Stronger, clearer. I'd learned something about myself in those 3 months. I could survive losing everything except my self-respect. And that I'd kept. People ask if I saw the signs. I did, in hindsight. But trust means you don't treat your wife like a suspect. They weaponized that trust. Looking back now, I can see things I missed. Linda's increased attention to her appearance, new clothes, that expensive perfume, the lingerie. I thought she was feeling better about herself, trying to combat the aging we were both facing. I didn't think she was dressing up for my brother. Her phone behavior changed, always face down on the table, password protected when it never had been before, taking it to the bathroom with her. I thought she wanted privacy. Everyone's entitled to that. I didn't think she was hiding text messages from Daniel. She started mentioning him more. Daniel said this funny thing. Daniel's thinking about expanding his business. Daniel asked about the kids. I thought she was being kind, including him in family conversations because he was alone after his second divorce. I didn't think she was building intimacy with him. The way she'd light up when he called. The way she'd laugh at things he said that weren't that funny. The way she'd defend him when someone in the family criticized his choices. I thought she had a good heart, that she saw the best in people. I didn't think she was falling for him. So yes, the signs were there. But here's what people don't understand about hindsight. It gives you clarity you never had in the moment. When you've trusted someone for 42 years, you don't scrutinize their every move like they're a suspect in an investigation. Trust means giving the benefit of the doubt. Trust means assuming good intentions. Trust means not treating your wife like a criminal just because she bought new perfume or smiled at her phone. That's what trust is. And Linda and Daniel weaponized it. They used my trust as cover. They used my decency as camouflage. They used the fact that I loved them both to hide what they were doing. They used my trust as cover. That's their failure, not mine. I've heard people say, "You should have known. The signs were obvious. How could you miss it?" But those people have never been in this position. They've never had to choose between trusting the person they've built a life with or becoming suspicious and paranoid. They've never had to decide whether to interrogate their wife about why she's wearing perfume or just let her feel good about herself. They've never faced the choice between faith and fear. I chose faith. For 42 years, I chose to believe in her, in us, in our family. And yes, I was wrong. But I'm not going to apologize for trusting my wife and my brother. I'm not going to blame myself for not being suspicious enough, paranoid enough, controlling enough to catch them. The fault lies with the liars, not the lied to. Linda and Daniel made choices, active choices, repeated choices. They chose to betray me. I chose to trust them. Only one of those is shameful, and it's not mine. So when people ask if I saw the signs, I tell them the truth. In hindsight, yes, but hindsight is meaningless when you're living in good faith, and I was. They weren't. That's the difference. That's the only difference that matters. I learned that people can betray you and sleep soundly, but I also learned that your integrity is yours. No one can take it unless you give it away. This whole experience taught me things I wish I didn't know. First, people are capable of compartmentalization I never imagined. Linda could kiss me goodbye at 10:50 p.m., drive to Daniel's house, spend an hour in his bed, come home at midnight, shower, slip into bed beside me, and fall asleep like nothing happened. No visible guilt, no hesitation, no apparent conflict. She'd wake up the next morning, make coffee, ask about my day, and lie straight to my face about where she'd been, and do it again the next night. I used to think guilt would eat someone alive. That betrayal of that magnitude would show on a person's face. I was wrong. Some people can live double lives and sleep just fine. Second, betrayal usually comes from the people closest to you. Not because strangers wouldn't betray you. They would. But because strangers don't have access. They don't have your trust, your home, your family gatherings, your unguarded moments. The people who can hurt you most are the people you've let closest. Linda and Daniel had full access to my life, to my heart, to my blind spots. That's why they could do what they did. Third, when people show you who they are through their actions, believe them, not their words, not their tears, not their promises, their actions. Linda said she loved me while driving to Daniel's house. Daniel said I was his brother while sleeping with my wife. Believe actions over words. I learned to believe the actions. Fourth, you can survive what you think would destroy you. 6 months ago, if you'd told me Linda was cheating with Daniel, I'd have said it would kill me. Not literally, but emotionally, spiritually. I'd have said I couldn't survive that, but I did. I am. You're stronger than you think, tougher than you know. You find that out when you have no choice. Fifth, integrity is the only thing no one can take from you. They can take your wife, your brother, your marriage, your family structure, your trust, your peace, but they can't take your integrity. You can only give it away, and I didn't. I could have lied, could have hidden the photos and pretended everything was fine to save face, could have stayed married and lived in denial, because divorce at 67 is scary and embarrassing, could have retaliated, slashed tires, ruined Daniel's business, made Linda's life hell, could have become bitter and cruel and let this turn me into something ugly, but I didn't. I told the truth. I kept my dignity. I followed through on my principles. I stayed who I was, even when they showed me who they really were. That's integrity, and it's the only thing I truly own. Linda can't take it. Daniel can't touch it. It's mine. And looking back over these 6 months, the pain, the anger, the loneliness, the divorce, all of it, that's what I'm most proud of. Not that I survived, but that I survived without becoming something I'm not. I kept my integrity. I kept my dignity. I kept myself, and nobody can take that away. When the judge's gavel came down, 42 years ended in a sound. I walked out of that courthouse alone, but I walked out whole. About 4 months after that rainy November night, my divorce was finalized. It was a Tuesday morning, March 14th, cold and clear. I met Gerald at the courthouse at 9 a.m. Linda was there with her attorney, Patricia Vance. We didn't speak, sat on opposite sides of the hallway outside the courtroom. Linda looked older, thinner. Her hair had more gray than I remembered. She glanced at me once. I looked away. When they called our case, we filed into the courtroom. Judge Carolyn Henderson presiding. She was in her 60s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. She reviewed the case file. I looked at the photos Gerald had submitted, read the testimony. "Mrs. Mitchell," she said, "I've reviewed the evidence of adultery. Do you dispute these findings?" Linda's voice was barely audible. "No, Your Honor. Do you have anything you'd like to say?" Linda shook her head. Patricia tried to negotiate some last-minute changes to the settlement. Gerald shut it down point by point. "The terms have been agreed upon," Gerald said. "My client has been more than fair given the circumstances." Judge Henderson looked over her glasses at Patricia. "I agree. Motion denied. The settlement was fair. Not generous, but fair." Linda received her portion of the joint savings, some furniture, her car, her personal belongings. No alimony. Virginia fault divorce laws were clear on that. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, my pension, and my dignity. Judge Henderson read through the final decree. "The court finds irreconcilable differences resulting from adultery. The marriage between Robert James Mitchell and Linda Ann Mitchell is hereby dissolved." She raised her gavel. "Divorce granted." The gavel came down. One sharp crack. 42 years ended in that sound. I sat there for a moment, felt something I didn't expect. Not sadness, not anger, not even satisfaction. Relief. Pure, clean relief. It was over. The lying was over. The uncertainty was over. The legal battle was over. The marriage that had died 6 months ago was now officially buried. I stood up. Gerald shook my hand. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. I nodded, looked across the courtroom one last time. Linda was crying. Patricia had her hand on her shoulder. I felt nothing. I walked out of that courtroom without looking back. The hallway was bright with morning sun coming through tall windows. My footsteps echoed on marble floors. Gerald walked with me to the parking lot. You okay? He asked. I will be. You handled this with real dignity, Robert. A lot of men wouldn't have. A lot of men didn't have my father, I said. He taught me how to lose with honor. Gerald smiled. He'd be proud. I got in my truck, drove home, to my house, my space, my life, alone, but whole. And that was enough. I'm 67 years old. I'm divorced, and I'm okay. Not because I got revenge, but because I kept my dignity. That's a choice anyone can make. If you're still watching, thank you. I know this wasn't an easy story to hear. It wasn't easy to live through either. I'm not the same man I was that rainy night in November, the one who followed his wife through the city, hoping he was wrong. I'm harder in some ways, less trusting, more careful with who I let close. But I'm softer in others, more grateful for genuine people, more aware of what actually matters. I've learned that love without respect is nothing, that family bonds can break, that you can lose almost everything and still be okay, as long as you don't lose yourself. Some of you watching this are probably going through something similar, or you've been through it before, or you're worried it might happen to you. Here's what I want you to know. If your gut tells you something's wrong, pay attention. Don't ignore it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Trust isn't blind faith. It's earned and maintained. If you discover betrayal, and I hope you never do, you will survive it. I promise you that. It won't feel like survival at first. It'll feel like drowning, but you'll come up for air, and eventually, you'll breathe normally again. Choose integrity over comfort. Choose truth over false peace. Choose dignity over revenge. And remember this, your value doesn't come from who stays with you. It comes from who you are when they leave. Linda and Daniel made their choices. I made mine. They chose betrayal. I chose truth. They chose comfort and lies. I chose pain and honesty. They gave up their integrity. I kept mine. And 6 months later, I can look at myself in the mirror without shame. Can they? I don't know. And honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm 67 years old. I'm divorced. I'm starting over. But I'm okay. Not because what happened to me was fair. It wasn't. Not because I got revenge. I didn't. But because when it mattered most, I stayed who I was. And that's something no one can take from you. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your story if you want to share it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And remember, dignity is always a choice. I chose mine. You can choose yours too.